Each week, we, the members of UU Princeton, welcome visitors and newcomers to the service, and we're always happy to do that. But today, we extend a special welcome to the newest member of our worship team, our interim director of music, Samuel Stevenson. Sam is an experienced and accomplished conductor, educator, and administrator who earned a Master of Music in Choral Conducting degree with distinction from Westminster Choir College. He has experience in leading church music ministries. He loves a good bell choir. He enjoys developing curriculums and programs, and when he was in college, amongst many other things, he was president of the Glee Club, a perfect match for us. I know we all look forward to sharing in the music ministry that he'll help create, and he's already helping to create with the members of our choir and our staff. We have exciting days ahead of us, and we begin them with a note of gratitude to Drake Baer, Jean DeVoe, Audrey Pico, Joelle Piercy, and our chair, Candace Hedberg, who formed the music director search team that led us to Sam. And now we turn the service over to Sam to lead us in our opening hymn. You may be seated. Again, good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Princeton, where in our open and welcoming community we live our message of hope, love, justice, and joy. If you're visiting this morning, we'd like to let you know about our next membership series, which happens on March 9th, 16th, and the 30th for an hour after worship each Sunday. Each session discusses a different aspect of life here at UU Princeton, and you're invited to any or all of them. We'll email out information about that series this week. Also, next Sunday, all are invited to stay for a workshop after the service on the book Mindful Race Talk, Building Literacy, Fluency, and Agility. The author of that book, Dr. Natalie Edmond, will be here to lead that workshop, and she'll also be in the service as well. Dr. Edmond is a clinical psychologist, a yoga teacher, and an anti-racism educator who is also a member of the UU Church in Washington Crossing, so you don't want to miss the opportunity to be in her workshop. And this Sunday, all are welcome to stay for a potluck fellowship brunch after the service, this one hosted by the group Princeton Eats Plants. You'll enjoy delicious plant-based fare that is good for you and the animals and the earth. You'll make friends, and your donations will go to support the work of that vibrant and growing group that has such an important message for all of us. We'll also draw your attention to the very last announcement in happenings, the post-abortion care kit. You can read the information there, but the sign-up is live at the website uuprinceton.org. Just go to that website, click the Sign Up Genius link, and you'll see how you can be a part of that important ministry. And now, with a stewardship ministry moment, I'm pleased to welcome Cindy Funkeli to the pulpit, who, along with Elizabeth Silverman, are our stewardship campaign co-chairs.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning, everybody. As we welcome the first Sunday in March, we also begin the season of UU Princeton's annual giving campaign. For the third year, Elizabeth Silverman and I are leading the pledge drive. It's an effort that takes time and energy, but it reflects our shared commitment to UU Princeton. You may recall that in 2023, 2 years ago, we engaged the congregation in a lively trivia quiz during this service. And last year, we highlighted the depths of our community by inviting representatives from our many ministries to share their experiences. This year, rather than incorporating a special element into this service, we decided to celebrate together afterwards what we hope to be a successful campaign. So mark your calendars for Sunday, May 11th, when we'll gather in gratitude and community. Later this week, you'll receive your pledge packet in the mail. Some of you may already have, and it includes this year's brochure, a pledge card, a letter from Reverend Bill, and beginning next Sunday and continuing throughout March, we'll also feature like a weekly testimonial offering personal reflections on what this community means to us and why supporting it matters. Our pledge theme this year is Building a Better Tomorrow, a reminder that hope takes action and community builds strength. We were heartened by the responses to our December stewardship letter, where we expressed a desire to reimagine stewardship as a year-round practice, where our members' generous support flows naturally, without the need for much fanfare or cajoling. While this year's campaign reflects that spirit, our financial needs remain just as real. In that same letter, we proposed a very simple idea. If each pledge unit rounded up its 2024 pledge by $500 this year, we could easily meet and perhaps exceed our goal. Well, we realize that financial circumstances vary. Very small adjustments can have a significant collective impact for our congregation. So as you fill out your pledge card, please give this idea some thought. Our congregation continues to be a source of inspiration and action, but it takes resources to sustain and grow our mission. Your pledge ensures that we can continue to support our truly wonderful staff, maintain our building, and offer the programs and outreach that make this community so vibrant. So thank you for your generosity, commitment, and shared vision for the future of UU Princeton.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, everyone who is pledging to build our congregation for next year. This morning's service is a wonderfully collaborative endeavor by one of our newest ministry groups here at UU Princeton. And to introduce the service, Kristen Field.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank Reverend Bill for letting us have such a heavy hand in the service today. I'm just going to introduce the group, UU Conscious Consumers. This group formed kind of at the beginning of this year. Our mission is to raise awareness among us all in this congregation of how everyday consumption habits affect the interconnected web of existence. And we want to encourage our members to adopt new habits that can positively impact the following areas: climate change, conservation, human and animal welfare, and health. Today, you're going to hear a couple of voices, reflections from Vicki Campbell, John Burton, Dunbar Burney, and these people, along with Sharon McCrae, who couldn't be here today, and myself, we decided to drive this effort with the UU Conscious Consumers. Each of us has concerns about the different areas of our consumer culture, and we feel that the UU is a good place to organize a collective effort to advocate for change. We'd really love for all of you to participate in this effort. If you have ideas, we welcome them. Come and talk to one of us after service if you'd like. If you're interested in trying a few exercises in mindful consumption and modest restraint this year, you can look for Conscious Consumer monthly challenges in the Skylights newsletter and on the website. This month, we are promoting the Lent for the Earth Challenge, which begins this Wednesday. Maybe you've heard of it already. It's a 40-day eco-fast during the time of Lent, which is March 5th through April 17th. What you do to participate, it's really simple. No one calls you or checks on what your status is here, okay? You can choose from a variety of shopping or diet fasts. These are all aimed at having a positive impact on our planet. You can create your own, you can bend them into your own thing, that's fine. We just want to get a little bit of participation here, and you can find more information about it out in the lobby after service, or ask one of us. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for letting us work this sermon today and this service.
So shall I take a words from Maria Rilke? If you will stay close to nature, to its simplicity, to the small things, hardly noticeable, those things can unexpectedly become great and immeasurable.
And let us join together in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, amidst the beauty of the earth we gather, though in our hurried lives and bearing anxious hearts, we miss much of her mystery and wonder. The stars wait to enchant, but we don't pause underneath them. The wind moves to awaken, but we bundle ourselves against it. The air fills us with life, but we breathe without gratitude. And the ground grows our food, but we eat without grace. Still us before the beauty of the earth. Pause us before it, that we might know its glory and our place in it. That we might awaken within ourselves and one another a greater sense of joy and gratitude for that which holds us. Remind us of creation, with us in all of creation, neither above nor apart from it, but within it as another element of life, within it as stream and tree and rock and wind, within it as stardust on earth, evolving to know itself and growing in gratitude thereafter. And here in the silence of this sacred space, we offer these, the prayers and meditations of our hearts. And may the light of love shine in every heart and bring us back to one another. Amen.
Hello, I'm Vicki Campbell, and I wanted to tell you that I really love that myth of creation story that they read earlier for the children. What I love about it most is that everyone cooperated, and that the smallest and the weakest of the animals managed to get done the most difficult task. I think it's a wonderful myth. One of our principles is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. These are the words that I read and repeated over the years many times. I realize now that as I read them and said them, they were only words to me. May I take you through my journey? My husband and I slowly transitioned to a plant-based diet in anticipation of getting older. Our goal was to not to take any medication through careful monitoring of our food intake. Our focus was on ourselves. However, as the years passed, I became aware of the impact of my choice of food on the climate, on the animals, and on the farmers. I realized that eating healthy was also good for the climate. And I quote, "People who follow plant-based diet account for 75% less in greenhouse gas emissions compared to those who eat more than 3.5 ounces of meat per day." End of quote. But how do I show respect for the interdependent web of our existence? I understood how food affected my health, but how about the rest? The farmers, the plastics, the ocean. I reduced the use of plastic bags by reusing them, or I store food in containers. I buy biodegradable plastics when I can. I avoid buying processed food. That is health and climate. And I buy produce locally. My idyllic image of a farm was replaced with the reality of industrial CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations. What do they look like? I will leave it to your imagination. According to the Sentience Institute, 99% of farmed animals are living in factory farms at present. I won't read you the species data. I can give it to you later if you'd like. I also realized that the workers in these industries were mostly Black and immigrants, and they were working for minimum wage in very dangerous conditions. As you see, what started as a self-centered choice led to an expanded awareness. When you buy food, reflect on how it was produced. Who did the toil? Did the animals suffer? When you pick up a plastic bag, reflect on where it will end up. It took me a long time to realize that my choices mattered. I hope it is a much shorter time for you. If you would like to explore eating plant-based, please join us for lunch. Come on the first Wednesday of every month for a potluck. For additional information, where is it? I'm going to show you my, oh, there it is. For additional information, pick up the Princeton Eats Plants pamphlet. You have a lot of very reliable data in that pamphlet. Princeton Eats Plants was started in 2019, in the fall of 2019, and has been very robust, except that the attendance by the congregation has not been robust. And I would like for you all to join us. I approached Kirsten Shearer, our leader here, about the idea that Princeton Eats Plants is not only about eating healthy, that eating healthy has a ripple effect. Within a week of our conversation, she came up with the conscious consumers. So here we are. She created it. Please be generous when you come to the brunch. We will use the proceeds to pay for the pamphlet that I couldn't show you. And the rest will go to Sustainable Princeton. Thank you.
All right, good morning. I wanted to share with you guys a book that really, I would say, changed my life. This book here is called A Traitor to His Species, Henry Bergh and the Birth of the Animal Rights Movement. This book is amazing because it tells an amazing story, but it tells it about this man, Henry Bergh, who founded the ASPCA, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and he was one of us. He was a Unitarian. It says in here that he was a lapsed Unitarian, so I don't know if he did it his whole life, but I still say he's one of us. This book, this is actually a really wild tale. I mean, this guy, he decided that he needed to do something about animal rights, and this is in the late 1800s. And he worked to get legislation passed, one of the first animal welfare legislation in the city of New York, in all of the country. And then he got himself deputized as like a police guy to actually enforce the law itself. So you can see here he's got a little like badge, you know? And so this guy, honestly, he was a badass. What he did, he would walk around the city of New York, and this is before cars, it was all horses. And he would see if there was a horse that was, you know, like carrying a car with too many people, he would stand in front of it and he would, you know, yell at the driver and make everybody get off because the horse was getting, you know, was having a hard time. And this is, you know, I don't know what it was like in 1800s, but New York City commuters don't like their commute getting stopped, I don't think at any time. But he put himself right in front of it. He actually, there's stories about him, like infiltrating like illegal dogfighting rings that were like led by the mafia. And I mean, he was literally about to get himself killed, but he just kept doing it and kept doing it. And so what I found so inspirational about this book was that he was Unitarian. And so it made me think, like, he's just like one of us, you know? He just put his, you know, he got it in his head that he needed to do something about it, and he kept doing something about it. So I hope, I'm going to actually donate this downstairs to the Book Nook if anybody wants to read it and get inspiration from it. I will say that it is a little bit repetitive, because what happens is basically every chapter is the same chapter. He tries to fight something, and he loses, and then he fights again, and then he wins, and then he loses, and he wins, and he gets in fist fights, and all of this kind of stuff. And honestly, halfway through the book, I was kind of like, okay, I get it, like, over and over again. But then I kind of realized that's the whole point. The point isn't like one person doing one grand gesture and the world changes. It's every single day coming, doing it, you fail, you succeed, you fail and succeed over and over again. And now the ASPCA is one of the largest international organizations for animal welfare there is. So I'm really excited to share this on the Conscious Consumers, Day, because I get inspiration from books like this and from people in history, but I get significantly more inspiration from Vicky and from Kirsten and from everybody else in Dunbar and the people at Princeton East Plants, because everyone here in the congregation who has their own thing that they're, passionate about and working, because it just reminds me every day that I need to keep coming back and keep doing it and keep doing it. So I just want to say that I don't think many of us in this room necessarily will get biographies written about us, but I know every single one of us can do what we can to change the world. Thank you.
Good morning. So I'm Dunbar Burney, and many of you know me from a variety of things that I do around church. I might be sitting in the back driving the Zoom. I might be setting chairs up or tables with Jorge. I sit on the board. I do some things. But for all of these things, this spot right here is the last place I want to be. I don't really want to be, and so this is just not my kind of thing. But Vicky made it clear that I needed to step up. So, so thank you, Vicky. So just to set the sort of foreground, I grew up in a UU family. But the real core of my identity, I think, came from outdoors experiences. So appreciating nature and the wonder of natural selection, astronomy, geology, all these really amazing things. And so I gravitated to science, and I studied and eventually became a professor. And so I teach now at Rutgers. And so that's probably the most surprising thing, because the same reason that I don't want to be here, yet that I've chosen a career where I have to get up and lecture all the time, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so in the context of conscious consumers, I'm going to bring the perspective of energy consumption, the energy we use, and its impact on the climate. And so we know the carbon footprint is based on the greenhouse effect, where sunlight is not able to, the balance of energy gradually leads to warming. And so CO2 does that, and so fossil fuels are a major source of that, so human-used energy needs. So I'm a big advocate for solar power, and I'm lucky enough to be able to study that as my scholarship at Rutgers, and work with a bunch of really smart people who are also interested in promoting solar. And so I just wanted to give a couple of vignettes of real data about solar and what you can do. And so let me first start with, of course, you can put solar on your house. If you own a house, now many people are a little hesitant about it might cost too much. But we did a study that my colleagues at the school, Blaustein School, were looking at, so an installer might tell you, here's your payback period. You'll pay this much up front, and it'll take this many years to get your money back. Well, in fact, when you look into home resale values, you actually preserve your investment. And so I make the analogy, Well, you might be able to buy a stack of gold bars, put them in the basement, you have that value, and you get free electricity after that. So it's like a win-win. So essentially, your investment is an improvement to your house, and so the long-term value is reaped very, very early. So not everybody owns a house. Obviously, many rent. And so here in New Jersey, there are a couple of ways that you can participate in solar even as a renter. And so you can, through your utility, probably PSE&G, you can sign up for an energy provider who has a wind farm somewhere else and is selling green electricity. And there's a new program here in New Jersey called community solar, where again, someone will build a solar array on a warehouse. Let's at least find one good use for a warehouse, and then aggregate a bunch of subscribers who will buy that electricity and then benefit from a cleaner environment. And sort of analog to clean electricity then is also transportation, so electric vehicles. I'm a big advocate for electric vehicles. People who are naysayers about electric vehicles often point to the fact that not all of our electricity is clean yet. But in fact, you can go through the data and do the analytical counting, and actually the electricity is greener in the carbon footprint than driving a gasoline car. So, and every year as more solar gets adopted, then your car gets greener and greener every year. So I'm a big advocate, and I like participating in the conscious consumers if we think about energy use and the environment, and it comes back to my appreciation for nature. So thanks for having me up here. I'll run away as quick as I can, and join us at the brunch.
I want to thank Vicki, John, and Dunbar one more time for participating with their reflections, and thank Reverend Bill for graciously letting me do the homily today. It's such a privilege. If you were here for last week's sermon, you heard Reverend Bill talk a bit about our Unitarian Universalist forebears and their firm belief that love has the power to bring about a future of peace, justice, and love for all. Reverend Bill reminded us that history remembers these liberal theologians and their faithful followers, not only for their views that extend salvation to all people, but also for their very big effects in the real world. They were often among the first to engage in the social justice movements of their day, moving opinion and politics towards gender equality, embracing abolition and peace movements, promoting the dignity of labor, and fighting poverty, among other things. They also believed that the future of our faith envisions for the world is one that will come to fruition only through the very real and hard work of our own hands, not through prayers and divine intervention. Sitting here today, we must always remember that at the core of our faith, there lies a firm belief in the necessity of walking the walk, not just talking the talk. In a contemporary book envisioning the future of Unitarian Universalism, the author Michael Durrell asks, what is the purpose of a church? The answer is unexpectedly simple, he says. Schools educate students, widget manufacturers make widgets, and the purpose of a church is to make spiritually mature members, people who find within themselves the courage, fortitude, and stamina to stake out better lives for themselves, their families, and their fellow citizens. He goes on to say that developing spiritually mature members will not happen with people sitting in groups, talking and listening. That right living is more the challenge than right thinking. I've spent a really long time thinking about how this church helps us all in our quest for spiritual maturity.
how in a world that offers 1,000 other Sunday morning alternatives, we nevertheless choose to gather each week to focus for a short while on our shared ideas about right thinking and right living. Week after week, Reverend Bill's sermons and Reverend Jennifer's stories inspire us to act with kindness and integrity outside of these walls. We might gather in different programs and groups to grow our perspectives in ways that we hope will positively influence our way of being in the world. As we volunteer our time, energy, and money into our community initiatives, we find that we are also developing our appetite for more selfless and generous activity in the wider world. When we leave this place each Sunday, we carry all of this love, knowledge, and goodwill home with us, and we try our best to live our values whenever and wherever possible. But if you're like me, you are nevertheless aware of the places where you fall short of your own expectations in day-to-day life. You're aware there are many places you fall short of living out your values more fully. You know in your heart you could probably do more, and that certainly much more must be done to help fix the many broken parts of the world. Like me, you may be at least mildly disturbed by the many small ways that you are complicit in the world's problems, and how even for a motivated and caring person like yourself, it's still truly difficult to walk the walk. When I was thinking about how to present the Conscious Consumer's mission today, a mission that essentially asks us to find more ways to walk the walk, the story that came to mind right away was that of David and Goliath. It's a story that most of us know. A young shepherd boy named David, armed with only a sling, defeats the giant Philistine warrior Goliath with a single stone, an act which in turn emboldens the Israelite army to defeat the Philistine army. I first thought of using the story in the way it is most often used, to embolden us all in our actions by highlighting the power of the underdog and the power of courage and conviction. In this presentation, we are each of us Davids, and the Goliath stands for the overwhelming problems that face our world today. Now, this is a fair angle, but I thought that maybe it's more helpful to consider the ways that we are not like David, the ways we're more like the other characters in the background of the story, the Israelite soldiers who, though it was their duty to take up the Goliath problem all along, they chose instead to use Goliath as what was essentially a very convenient excuse to stick with the status quo. This story can direct our attention to the awesome power of courage and conviction, but it also directs us to examine how our own comfort with the world as it is and with ourselves as we are. From this different angle, we can ask ourselves, where in our own pursuit of a better world do we find ourselves standing comfortably on the sidelines, maybe making excuses that hold us back? Where in our own lives do we let comfort, convenience, and security push us away from our commitment to move ourselves and the world forward? UU Conscious Consumers was created with the goal of helping those who are interested in this congregation find more ways to walk the walk of our faith on a daily basis, and to offer more opportunities to take concrete steps toward living our values more fully. This involves small challenges that ask you to step outside of your comfort zones. And that's because we discussed and found out that it's usually outside of the comfort zones where the sausage gets made, right? Though Vicki and John will ask you not to make or eat the sausage, okay? So whether you're prepared to take great strides or need to take baby steps, We welcome you at any pace to join the movement that offers a foundation of encouragement and support, not pressure and guilt. At the beginning of our service, in our unison affirmation, you heard words from one of the Unitarian Universalist's 7 principles. This is the new version, okay? We covenant to grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian Universalist heritage, never complete and never perfect. As UUs, we are realists. We accept that change is an unavoidable law of nature. We also believe that change starts from within ourselves. We do not defer this work to God or to government. Martin Luther King Jr. said that to create a beloved community will require a qualitative change in our souls, as well as a quantitative change in our lives. Along with the civil rights movement, he was very concerned with the negative aspects of unchecked capitalism and materialism in our culture. He believed that people must shift from a society that prioritizes things to a society that prioritizes people. Conscious consumers have chosen the arena of consumer culture as a largely neglected area where we might strive to live out our UU values more fully in modern times. According to the data, Unitarian Universalists are often considered to be among the most educated and affluent religious groups in the United States, which means that many of us stand far upwind of many of the negative consequences of our own consumer choices. We live in a society where the invisible hand of the free market, which does enrich our lives in so many ways, nevertheless asks us to prioritize cost and convenience above all else. We must constantly remind ourselves that our faith asks us to prioritize care. As humans filled with desires, prone to temptation, rife with impatience, and happily indulgent, prioritizing care can be really, really hard. It can be so easy to turn away from the little challenges to choose care that stand right in front of us every single day. Little things like saying no to unnecessary plastic, supporting local small businesses, choosing ethically sourced food, impulse buying items we know are destined for 1,000 years in the landfill. When cost and convenience consistently trump care, the world suffers. And we see this in the effects of climate change, in people and animals that are cruelly exploited on unfathomably large scales. We see it in the callousness that stems from greed, in the death of downtowns, and in beautiful land made ugly for profit. We see it in clean air and water that's made toxic. The Conscious Consumer monthly challenges are like Goliath in that they are big issues that are easily targeted with good aim. Like David's unassuming sling, we think your weapon is also just as unassuming and small enough to fit in your back pocket, your wallet. The stones you carry are the choices you make that align with our values, particularly the value of interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to protect the earth and all beings from exploitation. I said before that UUs are realists. We accept the reality of human fallibility and imperfection. We know that changing oneself is not as easy as mustering the perfect amount of willpower and conviction. Transformation rarely happens overnight. It most often happens incrementally. We commit to supporting and encouraging one another in this incremental journey towards spiritual maturity. We commit to walking the walk, even though it can be awkward and uncomfortable at times. We will try even harder not to make excuses, and we will never give up on ourselves or on one another. Instead, in the face of any challenge, we will continue to find ways to nudge each other forward. We will continue to strive for personal and collective progress, even if it is slow, knowing that instant perfection is impossible and not how the world works anyway. As we travel into the future, let's do it all together. Let's talk the talk. Let's keep walking the walk. And now let's get even better at putting our money where our mouth is. May it be so.
And at the end of our hour, we extinguish our chalice, knowing that its light stays with us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.